But I made this YouTube channel when I was in Montana in March or April of 2018. I actually made this channel before I made the channel that was attached to my main account. Not that, well, I had that channel already made for my main account. The thing is that I didn't know how to do all the video stuff and everything like that. Basically, before Natalie was killed, I basically used YouTube as a point of reference for learning. Just like Facebook, though, YouTube is just as much of a popularity contest. People don't care if they get their information right. They just want to argue. They want to fight. A lot of them live in places where they're not allowed to argue with people they live in. If they argue with the people they live in, they'll get kicked out of their domicile. Then they end up homeless, and they end up in the same situation as myself and many others have been. So a lot of people, they think just because they've never been homeless that it's all right to be a jackass. Lovely. When I first started using this channel, well, I had made this one to test out the video thing, and then Miss Jerry helped me with another one. Miss Jerry and Miss Amanda Ingeline, of course, helped me out with that. That was while I was up there in Montana. See, a lot of people did things that were helpful or would have been helpful if they had followed through or hadn't screwed me over. It's not my choice for other people to do things like screw me over. It's not my choice. If somebody comes to steal from me, that's not a decision that I made. That's a decision the thief made. If someone decides that they're going to come assault me for something that I didn't do, that's not my decision. That's their decision. And people say, oh, well, you shouldn't have been there. Well, with all due respect, if I'd have known I was going to get assaulted, I would have avoided it. With Boulder, for a whole year before Natalie died, pretty much the only time I went to Boulder is when people said, hey, Sean, it's been a while. I haven't seen you. It'd be good to visit with you. But it all comes down to money, don't it? And a lot of people tell me, you know, Sean, with what you're doing, you can monetize your YouTube. And if you did that, then you'd make some money for making your videos. Well, first of all, I don't know how to do that. I need help with things like that. Not that in specific, but things like that. See, I don't want to force people to watch advertisements in order to help find missing people. Now, there's a lot of stuff people actually helped me with that I might be able to do it and do so effectively. But it's my knowledge and understanding of many things that you guys take for granted. One of those, I'm going to give you an example right now. Yesterday, I went over to talk to Big Jason Jeffson, and he had some of his family over there. This is younger children. Of course, that's okay. These are his nieces and nephews. Of course, it's okay for them to come visit. Now, what's the whole point of that? I guess really there isn't one, because I lost my point, because I got three more points in my head as soon as I started talking about that one. When I first made this, and my other one got destroyed because I did threaten Tim Beeson, or not Tim Beeson, but Ted Bollinger, after the bullshit that him and Alicia pulled at my grandmother's funeral. Goddamn right I did. This is his fucking strike 3 for me. But I had about, I don't know, 50 subscribers, and most of them were just assholes that didn't like me, because the only thing that the news wanted to report on was slander. Now, there's lots of people that I've sent stuff to. They're like, oh shit, dude. Fucking the news didn't say anything about that. These web sleuth sites that I'm attached to didn't say anything about that. Sean, I didn't know. Well, you just found out, a lot of you, but I've been dealing with it for 3 years now. So although it's new to you, it's not new to me. And there's a lot of information that you guys who jumped on board completely missed out on. Now then there was Selena Not Afraid. When she disappeared, I pretty well knew that somebody disappeared because my video on the missing women of Hardin, Montana from 10 months before Selena Not Afraid disappeared. And I spoke about all of the things that ultimately Selena Not Afraid had to deal with. The people that I was hanging out with there were telling me about how people are found in between Hardin and Lodge Grass. Now, I thought that Lodge Grass was to the west. After looking at a map, I realized that Lodge Grass is to the east. And now, when that happened, there was I ended up with about 200 subscribers after all that was said and done. I also ended up with a lot of people accusing me of killing Selena Not Afraid, and a lot of people doing the same thing that they did when Natalie disappeared. Oh, well, I saw you with her. I saw you with her. I saw you with her. Like, fucking hell you did. One lady up there tried claiming, meanwhile, I'm here at Dallas's house for New Year's. I don't have a vehicle to go anywhere, and she's claiming that I picked her up and she had to throw herself out of my vehicle to get away from me. Boy, people really got a way of using their imaginations, don't they? Letting it run away with them. Meanwhile, y'all want to pretend like I'm living in a realm of fucking fantasy. Now, Selena Not Afraid, that's one of probably 20 Native Americans that I've posted about in the last 2 years. Now, then, this Rob Gavigan feller, he made a video supposedly about Natalie, but most of it was actually about me. Most of it was him passing the same misinformation that everybody got to see. But nobody got to see my side because nobody wanted to. These people who hated me were hell-bent on making sure that I couldn't communicate on Facebook. For the first year after Natalie was killed, they just called everything that I typed spam. And then I'd get put on another 30-day ban for spam. And a lot of the stuff that I was posting up was straight up evidence that proves that Natalie Bollinger was a lying piece of shit. That doesn't mean that I don't love her. I mean, hell, I know that Jamie Curtis is a lying piece of shit. I still love her. But I love differently. I'm not interested in sex. Now, Mike Gavigan, when he made that, that's when shit really skyrocketed. Then it went from, let's see, I want to say that I have almost 600 subscribers, it says, in the last 28 days. Almost 600 joined my channel because of what Rob Gavigan said. That's 600 more people who are potentially going to hear what it is that I'm saying, but it's also 600 people who are potentially not going to watch the whole thing, or going to jump to conclusions, or just looking for somebody to hate and harass, and I'm an easy target. All these people saying I should monetize it. Well, first of all, I don't know how. Second of all, I don't want you to have to go through watching these fucking commercials in order to get the information that's needed. That's just another thing for you to OCD out on, or ADOS, attention deficit throw shiny. Or if you're a dog like me, attention deficit throw squirrel. And through most of this, my resources have been robbed from me. The amount of resources that I was able to accumulate and utilize. Let me explain to you that it takes about $2,400 for one person to live under a roof by themselves in a lot of places in the United States. Here in Chapel, Nebraska, it doesn't cost that much. especially with low income. It only cost me $227 or something like that per month, and my bills are paid. You know, I don't pay the rent or I pay the rent, but I don't pay the electricity or any of that. That's all included, which is a good thing. It just sucks that really I'm paying 200 and something bucks a month so I can have a goddamn mailbox. Ashley typed, YouTube is about as social as I get. I don't Facebook, tweet, or twat, or whatever they call it, LOL. I'm not a social person, believe it or not. It's too people-y everywhere for me. That's how I am. You know, before Natalie, I never wanted to go to the East Coast. I'd never been any further east than Kansas. And it would have taken somebody real special or people in a real fucked up situation for me to change that. When Natalie made me promise to go to the East Coast to see her, or she wasn't getting on the plane, yeah, I made that promise, and I intended on keeping that promise, and I did ultimately keep my promise. And I got victimized for it. I got treated like she was the only reason that I went to Virginia, was to stalk Natalie. Meanwhile, I was supposed to see Moose on that trip. That's Brett Roloff, and his conversations between him and I are on here. I was supposed to see Amanda DeMette. She lived in Alabama. She still lives in Alabama. Sorry, I can't speak properly. And, you know, she was going to help me. She came by last year to help me out. But she was having vehicle problems, so she didn't get to. And she was going to come help me this summer. But because of this COVID-19 thing and because of her health issues, she's not able to. Meanwhile, that just allows the cops to continue to say the things that it is they've been saying. Nobody will help me, probably because of the way that I act. No, this is an issue with COVID-19 and her health. That's not my fault. It's not my decision. Another person that I was going there to see, Sage, and Ed Simmons, and Mahalia Jean-Pierre. I spend most of my time in my trailer. I don't like being yelled at. I don't like people throwing shit at me. I don't like people accusing me of doing shit I didn't do. I don't like walking down the street and people see me coming and then they hurriedly rush their children inside. Because I tell you what, bitch, and I do mean bitch, if you try to use your fucking kids as a weapon like that because you did something fucked up, you're a fucked up person who deserves, first of all, not to have children. If you're going to do shit like that to human beings, no, you should not have the right to raise children. Absolutely not. What Jamie Curtis used her son to do to myself and to James Payton is not appropriate. And then she wants to play on the fact that she's pretty, that she has a vagina, and that she's a mother. Well, with all due respect, those are the three things that you just exploited to fuck up two other men's lives, and you pulled your child in on it. And then you wanted to play victim because you're pretty, because you have a vagina, because you have a child. Meanwhile, how did you end up with a child? I'm going to tell you something about Jamie Curtis. Jamie Curtis thought she was in love with a guy named Swan, Patrick Swan. Now, she was having sex unprotected with Patrick Swan, but also she was getting fucked up on meth with Mark Cox. That's the father of her child. So, she ended up pregnant. Mind you, during this time, she also had sex with Stegeman, according to both her and Stegeman. However, she is 100% certain that her son is not Chris's. I don't know how. Did you ever take a DNA test to see if he belongs to Patrick Swan or Chris Stegeman, or did you just assume that it was Mark Cox's child? Because at the time, his father, who was still alive, was the owner of the largest meatpacking plant in the state of Kansas. Damn. So when she found out that she was pregnant, she went into the bathroom, she peed on a stick, turned out she was pregnant, and she came out and she chucked it at Mark Swan, or not Mark Swanigan, at Mark Cox. She was mad because she got pregnant because she had unprotected sex. Now, that's not me blaming it all on her. That's me saying she doesn't get to blame it all on him. She was fucked up on meth too. She had unprotected sex the same as he did. And he didn't rape her. It was consensual. And that by her own admission. But there's a lot of women who have done that. Miss Jerry has done that on multiple occasions to many men that I know. Same thing with Lana Engeline. Oh, they're some stuff. I'm sorry. Most of the women I know play nasty tricks like that. One lady posted up something yesterday that she thought that everybody would agree with. And of course, if you don't agree with a woman, then it must mean that you're a terrible person and a misogynist. Oh my God, you don't believe my vagina? You're a misogynist. No, I'm an equalitarian. If it's all right for a woman and not for a man, then it's straight up not all right. If it's all right for a man but not all right for a woman, then it's straight up just not all right. I don't care what your mommy and daddy taught you. If I have a child and I tell my child every day that my child asks, hey, what color is the sky? The sky is red. For years and years, this child only has me to tell them these things, to teach them these things. And instead of teaching them properly that the sky is blue, I teach them that the sky is red. So now everything that's blue, they think is red. Let's see, Ashley typed, I wanted to see your side, which is why I was so stoked when I seen you commented on that video. I had to reach out, and I am so glad I did. Absolutely adore you. You are my people. Hey, Carrie, welcome back. Carrie Zombie type, hi, Sean. Ashley, did I send you a packet of emails, correspondence between myself and Natalie? There's somebody a few days ago that I sent a bunch of stuff to that they were going to look at, including the email that I got from Natalie in 2016 that I exposed her dad with at the end of 2017. You're the person I sent that to, right? It might have been as long as a week ago. I think there's about a 15-second delay on what I'm saying and when they hear what I'm saying, and then there's the time that it takes to type it. So a lot of times when I say something, I might not get a response to whatever I said for a couple of minutes. When it comes to money, you're right, Ashley, people are assholes. When it comes to money, the police preyed on the fact that I had a fixed income. And when they broke the law, they took away my fixed income and forced me to spend it on a bunch of jumping through hoops for my predators. I was the one assaulted by Waylon Lolotai. And I was the one charged with assault. He was never charged with assault because he has a badge. And by the way, Waylon Lolotai is fucking black. All right, I'm not gonna fucking bullshit you about that. Waylon Lolotai is black. When he assaulted Sammy Leon Lawrence IV, he didn't assault Sammy Leon Lawrence IV for the color of his skin. All right? Any one of you who wants to be a fucking moron and spout that shit, you should just put a bullet in your head now and save the rest of us from shitty people like you. I would rather, between you putting a bullet in your head and being a decent human being, I'd rather you be a decent human being. But at the same time, if you're not going to be a decent human being and you're going to be doing the kind of shit that gets people hurt or killed, yeah, I don't have much place for you. I don't have any respect for you. Y'all who want to pretend that this is all a race issue and it's just white cops against black people. That's not how the fuck it is. Just white cops. Only white cops are doing this and only black people are being killed. Is that really the narrative that you want to try selling to the American people? Do you really want to tell something that is such a blatant fucking lie? Obviously, anybody who hears you say that knows that you're fucking lying outright. Waylon Lolotai is a perfect example of that. Here's a black man who wants to hurt people. That's why he has that job. He gets off on hurting people. But it's okay because he's black. Then Michelle Rodriguez gets assaulted by this black officer, and she admits that it was because she was homeless. And many other people admit that it was because she was homeless that she was targeted. But Darren O'Connor's not going to say that. David Lane isn't going to say that. They want to make it a race issue because they can win in court and enhance their prestige if they make it a race issue, whereas they're just going to lose if it's a homeless person because nobody gives a fuck. Oh, scroll moments. Yes, sir. I have a terrible attention span, but I love listening to you talk and you keep my attention, which is a task, let me tell you, LOL. I think I was talking about squirrels about 20 minutes ago. Maybe 15 minutes ago. So that's a lot more drag when it comes to time lag than I thought it was. With Natalie Bollinger, she had a lot of predators in her life. A lot of people like Ted Bollinger, Kim Beeson, and her twin sister, Alicia, as well as predators like her mother. Now, many of you might not think of her mother, Rose M. Kelly, or Rose M. Self, whatever you want to call her. But she's not a very good person. She had a choice between her two twin daughters and an abusive man who was already court ordered to not even be in the household. A man who was not allowed around her children because he was physically abusive. And she had a choice between her daughters or the companionship of an abusive man. And what did she choose? She chose the companionship of an abusive man. Sent her daughters back to a man who forced them to sell drugs, raped them. He fucked his own daughters, for Christ's sake. And what did he get? What did he get for forcing his underage daughters to sell drugs? For doing drugs like heroin and meth with them. For raping them and selling their bodies to others. What did Ted Bollinger get? He got away with it. He fucking got away with it. That's what he got. I know a lot of predators who protect, or a lot of victims who protect their predators. Now, here's one that I can agree with only because I see so much stuff towards men in this particular fashion. Carrie Zombie type, women who choose men over their children are not real women. Well, men who choose women over their children are not real men. So you and I can agree on that, as long as we can agree that it's both ways. I know more single fathers than I know single mothers, by a lot. In order to be considered a single mother to me, you have to be the one taking care of your kid. In order for you to be considered a single father to me, you have to be the one taking care of your kid. You're not a single parent if you're not doing any parenting. Now, there's a lot of situations that we end up in because we want to believe that women are better than men or men are better than women. We're all human beings, and as long as we have that separation that we want to fucking hold on to, even knowing that it's bullshit, just like with racism, our children got to deal with this, their kids got to deal with this, their kids after that are going to have to deal with this. And a lot of parents say, well, you know, it's too late for me to do anything about it. I can't do anything about it. All I can do is teach my children another way. No, you aren't teaching your children another way if you're not doing anything about it. Your kids are going to do exactly what you do. Say one thing, do another. If you're going to use your kids to manipulate the courts to destroy a person's life, you're a fucked up person. Now, women can get away with this more often than men. Now, there was a woman on one of them Facebook groups who wanted to say that basically she typed a whole bunch of ignorance that she knows ignorance, and she wants to present it as fact. And because she's got boobs, I better believe it because she said it because she's got boobs, or I'm a misogynist and a bad person. Well, saying boobs is more misogynistic than any of that. Oh no, you want me to say breasts? Will that be less offensive? Let's see. Carrie Zombie type, this is why I like listening to you because we are of the same mindset. Carrie typed, I totally agree 100%. I'll be damned if I were to put a man before my boys, aka my three stooges. Larry, Curly, and Moe. Yep. A lot of the situations that I've been in, people put me in that situation. And don't get me wrong, it was my choice whether or not to go. However, between manipulating me and just asking me, I'd rather you just ask me, Sean, will you help me move? All right, I'll help you move. Let's see. Ashley types, seriously, Sean, I watch so much. My boys have dubbed you UNK, LOL. Carrie Zombie typed, hell yeah, at Ashley Coffee. You know, Shannon Alvarado did the same thing. Her son absolutely loves me. And that's something that Shannon Alvarado, when she wanted to take cheap shots at me and say mean shit, she'd tell me, my son wants to say something, my son wants to say something, my son wants to say something. And she'd have like 30 or 40 recordings that are all basically shitty, right? But I'm not listening to them because I just don't need to be taking that kind of fucking bullshit abuse. So then I listened to one because her son wants to say something, and I listened to it, and her son doesn't say anything. It's her telling me her son still likes me, followed by her being a fucking complete and total bitch. Now, that's not because she's a bad person. It's because she's embarrassed. Same as Natalie Bollinger was. When I was being abused because of Natalie Bollinger not telling the truth, I told the truth about her. I gave her ample opportunity before I did tell the truth. There was ample opportunity for her to call off the dogs before I told people that she was on heroin. She said, "Don't listen to me because I'm mentally ill." You shouldn't have been listening to her. She was strung out on fucking heroin. And I understand that she was embarrassed. I understand that she was embarrassed when I was in Virginia, but she shouldn't have fucking lied. Her lies resulted in people actually harming me because she wanted to pretend that I might. That's just fucking ludicrous. A man can go to prison over a woman's opinion. But a man, even when he's got all of his facts and everything straight and all of that evidence, who's going to look at it? Now, those of you that I sent those packets to, you got to take a look at it. I sent some of that information to police, and I got repeated fucking messages from police saying that they can't see anything that I'm sending them. How is it that you can see it? How is it that you can see these screenshots that I send in emails, but the police magically can't? The police magically want me to come in person. And what has historically happened in the last 3 years if I go in person? I either get blown off if I go in there calmly. I get blown off 20 or 30 times before I am fucking fuming and I am having a fucking meltdown and I am in a crisis situation. And then I get victimized and the police pretend like all of the situations where I went into them before about these situations didn't fucking exist. Like they didn't happen because it doesn't fit their goddamn narrative. Good afternoon, Lucas Michael. Unity is the only way to get past this. Black Lives Matter is not a unity group. It's not. It's an exclusive group. If you're not black, then you don't deserve the protection of Black Lives Matters. If you're not black and in a house, matter of fact, Black Lives Matters isn't going to say a goddamn thing. Did Black Lives Matters give a fuck when Two Crows? Well, actually, we have two Crows. There's Adrian Two Crows, who's a Native American, and then there's Crozy, who's a black man who was ran over by a bus. We have a lot of black people in Boulder County who are victimized for being homeless, and there aren't that many black people in Boulder County. But per capita, yeah, you better not be black in Boulder. That is a charge of its own. And no, that's not a literal charge on paper. That's just their excuse. Like being homeless in Boulder, that's against the law. It's against the law to be homeless in most places in the United States. If the state doesn't have local ordinances, your local municipality will create them. Like here in Chapel, Nebraska, if a homeless person walks through town, they're not going to make it to the other end of town without getting harassed by a cop. It's just not going to fucking happen. As soon as someone comes in from the west end of town, you got the sale barn where they used to sell cattle. We hold the fair out there, and they used to have demolition derbies out there. Now, when you get that far, there are people in town who can see you. About halfway through town, almost halfway through town, you get to Pump and Pantry. If the cops haven't talked to you by the time you reach Pump and Pantry, you got lucky. And your best option is to keep walking, because if you stop at Pump and Pantry, then the cops are going to be able to stop and harass you. Because when they get phone calls like that about homeless people, the first thing they do is drive down Main. The second thing they do is stop at Pump and Pantry. If you're coming in from the east, it's the opposite. See, we got Hanson's Texaco in town, which is no longer a Texaco station, and we have Pump and Pantry, and they're about a block away. If you're coming in from the east, Hanson's Texaco is the closest. If you're coming in from the west, Pump and Pantry is closest. A lot of women who get strung out on drugs and alcohol, like Danica Garner and Rochelle Shelley Campbell and Rose M. Kelly and a great many women that I know. I had a point there, but again, I ran into 3 or 4 more points right as I had that thought. Derailed my fucking train. With these women, they get all fucked up on drugs and they make bad decisions and they end up having sex with somebody who is a child molester like Ted Bollinger or Tim Beeson. But you date those guys. And then your kids come out fucked up because you were using drugs while they were being conceived. The reason that Rose ended up with Ted is because he had her drugs. He had the drugs that she wanted. He was selling them out of the back of his barber shop. Same thing with Danica Garner. And, well, all 3 of his ex-wives were homeless when he met them. All 3 of them were strung out on drugs when he met them. All 3 had kids with him and he got married to him. Is that my fault or my decision? Is it something that I chose? Now, if these women were to do fucked up things like Ted, let's say Ted never molested his daughters, although he did. But let's say, for just the sake of argument, let's say that Ted Bollinger would never do a thing like that. He's a good father who is trying to get his daughters back so that he can protect them from people like Rose M. Kelly and Danica Garner. And these are predators. I'm only pretending that Ted Bollinger isn't a predator. He really is. But just for the sake of argument, because this is a situation that happens to a lot of people, where the woman that they just broke up with, all right, for whatever reason, maybe she's cheating on him, maybe she's on drugs, maybe they're just not compatible. However, he did the right thing by leaving. And if she wants to be angry and vindictive, she can claim all sorts of shit. She can claim that he stalks her. She sends a friend over to his house to threaten his life and assault him. And he calls her up and says, hey, you need to knock that shit off. You need to call off the fucking dogs and leave me the fuck alone. So she starts spreading the rumors further, going to his friends and his family, saying, oh, he did this and he did that. He can't see his daughters. His daughters aren't allowed to testify because they're underage. And meanwhile, the police don't want to listen to him because he has a penis. The woman is always the victim, must always be the victim. A lot of women do that. They claim the man is a sexual predator or a sexual deviant or anything of that nature, so they can get away with doing things that they know are wrong, things that they know will prevent them from having that child, and they know that the father is more set up to have that child than they are. But they don't want that. No, I have to have the child. Sure, the child would be better off with the father, but I want the father to hurt because he's not doing what I want him to do. The guy that I'm staying with here, he's got an ex who's exactly like that. She throws a tantrum if he doesn't do what she wants him to do. She comes over with the kids and he wants to hang out with his kids and he starts playing with his kids. And as soon as he starts playing with his kids, she starts bitching. He's a this and he's a that and he needs to this and he needs to that. Lady, you're not together. 3 weeks ago, he tells her, hey, I bought this house for my children. I am willing to let you stay there with my children, but it is not your house. It is our children's house. It is going to my oldest child so that they have something. And that's something my parents never did for me. My parents made more money than this guy ever has. But they wanted to spend it on putting it up their noses, whereas he spent his money to make sure that his children have something. Mind you, this is the house that I was going to buy, that I was saving money up to buy before Natalie was killed. If it hadn't been for Ken and Leah stealing my money and then using Natalie's death as an excuse to harm me, it would have been a lot fucking different. When you go saying that your children were molested by their father and they weren't, those children are going to hold a grudge against you, their mother, for the rest of your fucking life, unless you are able to keep him completely out of the picture and prevent him from showing the truth to your children. But I want you to know your children are going to turn 18 someday. And all of that hate that you try to spread about your ex, that's going to make them hate him until they turn 18. If he's able to show them the truth, your children will never talk to you again. You robbed them of your father. You robbed them of their father because you had a fucking control issue and you believed that because of your gender it was okay. You knew that because of your gender you would get away with it. Do men do the same thing? Men really can't. When you accuse a man of doing something like that, people just want to assume that it's the truth. When you accuse a woman of that, even people who assume it's the truth aren't going to pursue her the way that they pursue a man. While Natalie Bollinger's lies resulted in people coming to my door, people actually assaulting me, people actually threatening my life, I never once threatened her life. Not even once. Who was it that was on drugs? Was it me or was it Natalie? It was Natalie. Panda 3000 typed hello from the UK. And then typed, I've been homeless and mentally ill in the UK for a little while. And that was bad enough. I can't imagine how hard it is in the US with your messed up cops. Exactly my point. Here's somebody from the UK not making it a race issue. Acknowledging that it's the messed up cops. Yes, we have messed up cops in the United States. We have messed up cops who victimize the homeless, who victimize homeless black people. They victimize homeless people of any color, any religion, any gender, any sexual preference. It's not just black people. Now, if the father legitimately molests the child, which in 80% of child molestation cases it is one or the other parent, that's a different story. But then again, once a woman knows that statistic, she knows, well, that's something people are going to want to believe. What Natalie and Alicia Bollinger and Maddie Boa pulled in October of 2016 is something that I personally feel that if a woman does that, she belongs in prison. If it's not okay for me to beat the hell out of you, it's not okay for you to slander people into assaulting me. But then you want to pretend that I would assault you as your excuse for this. And then you want to justify it because you didn't do it. Oh, I didn't do it. It was Tim Beeson. Oh, I didn't do it. It was Katie Whiteman. Really? Meanwhile, all they had to do in order to prevent me from being able to defend myself and force me into a situation where I was victimized repeatedly, just allow that slander to go and refuse to look at evidence. Every single public pretender that I had, every single one of them refused to look at evidence. Every single one. Every single police officer. Every single DA. Every single judge. The only things that were allowed in my court were slander. No facts, no evidence, just slander. In addition to my rights to face my accusers and to show evidence and subpoena witnesses, were all denied. Matter of fact, my lawyers, every single one of my lawyers, every single one, has not showed up to at least one court date and has not showed up to at least one appointment that we're supposed to have, costing me $100 every time I got to go to one of these goddamn things. Steve Tombleson is a witness. Conversation with him is on here. Miss Peaches, as much as she's pissed off at me, she can kiss my ass because I have the evidence from her on this very YouTube. Yes, I love Miss Peaches, but she did some fucked up shit and she helped out my goddamn predators. Between finding out and treating me like shit, she chose to treat me like shit. Because it's a woman's prerogative. Jamie, her excuse as far as that goes is, Sean, women change their mind more often than they change their underwear. Well, that's not a valid fucking excuse. If a man changes his mind, he's a liar. If you change your mind, it's your prerogative. See, I'm after equality. I don't want special rights just for women or special rights just for black people. Because once you have that special rights, you're not going to fight for these other people who are still being victimized because they weren't included in your bill. These are Native Americans. They're not black, so we're not going to focus on them at all. It's just a black issue. No, the fuck it's not. Panda 3000 typed, from my life experiences between me and my friends, I would never say someone is a better parent because of sex. I've seen bad in both, and it should be on a case-by-case basis. Not a mother is right. Absolutely 100%. And as far as the law is written, that's how it is. But we don't live on paper. We don't live on the Constitution. We don't live on a law book. We live on planet Earth. And although the law may say one thing, human nature is entirely different. When people get greedy and have wants, or get jealous and have wants, regardless of what the law says, they're going to justify it in their own head. They're going to make excuses in their own head why it's okay. And they're going to rehearse that shit over and over and over again so that when somebody asks, they can feed them the proper response. A lot of people that I spoke with had prepared responses. Candace Bondurant, when I called her out for being a lying sack of shit, she had prepared responses. Same thing with Lana Engeline and Amanda Engeline. Prepared responses. They already knew what they did was wrong. They also knew that as women, it's their prerogative to manipulate. They also knew that because they have vagina, people are going to automatically assume that they're right, automatically assume that they're the victim, automatically assume that the male is the bad guy. Crystal Beauchamp, I rescued her on 3 different occasions while she was drunk and men were trying to sexually abuse her. I escorted her to her house all 3 times. On none of those occasions did I ever pass her threshold. Ever. I walked her to the door and that was it. And then I left. Now, she was so angry that I didn't have sex with her that she was hateful to me for at least 2 weeks after each of those 3 occasions. They're not the only women who have done that. Now, the computer that I had stolen in Washington State had a conversation between me and Miss Jamie Curtis where she admits that I'm the only man her entire life who's ever turned her down. She admitted in that video that she did those mean things that she did because she felt rejected. Lana Engeline did the same thing. When you don't feel reciprocated, especially when you're drunk, yeah, you may pretend all you want while you're drunk, but you obviously remember that you didn't get what you wanted when you're sober because you're doing that vindictive fucking shit. Women do more psycho shit than any man that I have ever seen my entire life when they are rejected. But then, he's just doing this because I rejected him. Bullshit. Bullshit. He's doing those things because you're fucking up his life by slandering his name and playing victim because you have vagina. Let's see. The courts see life circumstances as equivalent to morals, which is wrong. People can end up with a shit life doesn't mean they're a shit person. It's hard to persuade people you are a good person if you don't have a good quality life, and that's very true. Donald Trump is obviously a better person than me because he's rich, he's the president. Despite the fact that things that I have been arrested for, he has done repeatedly. And it's fine because he's the president, because he's rich, because a bunch of bigots like Donald Trump. Well, that's fine. You can like him all you want. That doesn't make him any less of a criminal. If it's illegal for me, it's illegal for him. That is how the Constitution is written. Not how it is in reality, though, is it? In reality, these people are in power. They get to vote themselves special rights, and you, the people who think that you have a say-so in this democracy, you don't have a say-so. When you got a choice between a child molester or a rapist for president, you didn't give yourself those two choices. Those in power set these two assholes in front of you and said, all right, do you want to get raped or do you want your children getting raped? Yeah, that whole voting thing totally works, doesn't it? Meanwhile, we've had 3 of our last 5 elections where the election was completely pugged. Plug it, right? Here's Zombie typed, my internet crapped out on me and I missed so much. Panda 3000 typed, I've taken a female friend home who started drinking after 30 days sober. When I got her to her flat and got her up the stairs, she couldn't even unlock her own door. She started doing some bad stuff. Yeah, you know, the first time Dr. Crystal Bo come to her house, she actually tried to kiss me. She still had puke hanging off of her chin. And she got mad at me because I didn't kiss her. But she didn't. What she got were not the same thing. Lana Ingline, when I was up there, now, don't get me wrong, I don't find Lana attractive in the least bit. And she doesn't find me attractive. But she thought that sex would fix the situation up there. I was telling her about the situation with Natalie, and I was crying, and she grabbed my hand and put it on her boob. That's not the first time something like that has happened either. Amanda Ingline used to be married to a guy named Mike Dietrich. And Mike Dietrich had a cousin. His cousin, Mike Dietrich, wanted to set me up on a date with, and I went over there to meet her, and her family was already talking about me and her getting married. I'm like, I literally just met you guys. So they encouraged us to go in the room and spend some one-on-one time together. So we did. We were talking. And this young woman starts telling me about her dead brother and then grabs a hold of my penis. Whoa! Whoa, 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 whoa. Hold on. Time out, time out, time out. Mood killer. Mood killer. You killed the mood before you ever grabbed for my dick. Let's see. She had taken off clothes and trying to get me into bed with her. She wanted sex. She offered sex to me to stay. I'm a close friend and asexual, right? If it wasn't me, but some stranger, God knows what would have happened. She probably would have ended up pregnant. That's how most of the people I know ended up pregnant. Getting drunk and having unprotected sex. Throwing yourself at some idiot because you're drunk, and then in the morning, well, if he's not as attractive as you remember him being last night, well, he's a terrible person. He must be a rapist. And that has happened on most occasions. I've seen women who have taken men who are more drunk than they are home. And then it wasn't what they expected. one of the women in Boulder, she had sex with a dude who she didn't know he was a virgin at the time, but I did, and he had sex with her. She ran around Boulder telling everybody that he was a two-pump chump. The dude was a fucking virgin. You claimed that he was a two-pump chump and then said he took advantage of you while you were drunk. No, you took him home. You were more sober than he was when you left. I'm not stupid. My friend, who is an alcoholic, gets drunk because of her past abusive life. She offers sex for company, as if that's the only way she'll get caring attention. A lot of women are taught that. A lot of women do that because that is what we teach them. Man doesn't want to spend enough time with you? Well, you should probably put out. That's what we teach them. We, as Americans, teach our children this. And panda, based on the word flat, I would assume that panda is from the UK. Let's see if I'm at this. Scroll up a little bit. By the way, flat, that's the British way of saying an apartment. It's a flat. Also, if you hear a British person say a flat pack, they're talking about do it yourself. That's like when you. The reason it's called a flat pack is because it's packed in a box and it's flat. Here in America, we have that compressed particle board, and when you get that compressed particle board, you buy yourself a shelf, right? When you buy that shelf, it's not assembled already. It's all of those pieces. They're laid flat on top of each other and packed into a box. That's a flat pack. That's a very British term. I know a few Australians, and they don't seem to use that term. They still use the term flat, but they don't use the term flat pack. Let's see. She can barely stand up, but she still knows to offer sex. It really upsets me. Yes, flat pack, like IKEA furniture. Put it together at home. A lot of people wanted to assume that I'm ignorant or I'm an idiot. They wanted to believe the narrative that was given to them. And at the time that they were spreading that narrative while people were actually paying attention, I was cut off repeatedly because of that attention. I was cut off repeatedly because people wanted to assume that I was this big, terrible monster. And many of my so-called friends turned out to be big, terrible monsters. Because between telling the truth or protecting my predators, they chose to protect my predators and to help my predators out.